Hello everyone, today I'm gonna be naming my top 10 must-have melees in 2025. We have incredibly good melee weapons, we have cool features, we have everything. This list is full-packed and jam-packed of them, so let's quickly hop into the video. There are definitely a lot of melee weapons in the game, and there are a lot of really good ones, so placing 10 in a top 10 list was quite difficult, but I have made it, and I'm guessing you guys are gonna leave your comments down below on why your melee weapon is not on the list. Feel free to do so, and you actually might name a really good one. Once you're down there, you can scroll a little bit up whilst you're continuing to watch the video, click that like, subscribe, and bell icon so you're notified when I upload, and it is always very much appreciated by me alongside your comments. And a couple of things I do want to preface before I start the video. I'm going to be using Revenant. Revenant does not buff my melee weapon in any sort of way. He is only here for survivability. And keep in mind that if you're using anything other than Revenant, you are going to be buffing these melee weapons, meaning more and bigger damage numbers. Also, I'm using the Epitaph as my primer. This is it up on screen. This does introduce a little bit of randomness, but if you're going to use a melee weapon specifically with condition overload, I would prefer you use the Epitaph or, for example, the Cedo. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's quickly get into the top 10 list. In a number 10 spot, we have the Guandao Prime. The Guandao Prime is one of my, if not the best polearm in the game. The stats of the weapon, incredibly good. It is a critical based weapon, meaning that you're going to use a build looking something like this. If you do not like using condition overload, you can use Prime Pressure Point, but keep in mind your damage numbers are gonna be a little bit lower. But this weapon as a general weapon is incredibly good. If you're using any other Warframe, for example your primary or secondary, pull this weapon out in situations where you need it and it is always going to come through. I always come back to this weapon on occasion just because of its incredible utility, crowd clearing capabilities, and also acolyte clearing abilities. So I would highly recommend you pick this weapon up alongside our number 9th weapon. In our number 9 spot, we have Harmony. Harmony is, in my opinion, the best scythe weapon in the game. This weapon shreds through enemies alongside the build up on screen, and its unique feature. When you do a heavy attack, you're going to get a buff called Harmonic Resonance, increasing your status duration by 30% for 30 seconds, which is incredibly good. It is going to help you out. And if you're using the Evensong and the Canter, all three of the buffs that you get are gonna increase the duration by 60 seconds and also increase the effectiveness of to 60%, which is really nice. But this weapon, one of the greatest features is you fling enemies around, and alongside the arcane that I showed you earlier, you are going to be killing a lot of enemies, and those enemies are gonna be disappearing incredibly fast. I love using this weapon with condition overload. If I'm running a melee warframe such as Kalervo, this weapon is incredibly, and I do mean incredibly good. The damage numbers go up to millions, and the damage numbers go up to millions even if you're not using Kalervo, but they're just going to be yellow or even orange crits. Nonetheless, Harmony is an incredibly good weapon, and I highly recommend you get it. And now, moving on to the number 8 spot. In our number 8 spot, we have the Glaive Prime. I think all of us expecting this weapon on this list. A lot of you guys are gonna comment, why is it number 8? As I said, number 9 is not better than number 1, or I guess worse, so keep that in mind. These are just 10 amazing weapons. So the Glaive Prime. The Glaive Prime is, I think, the best melee weapon in the game in general. I wouldn't consider it a melee weapon. It is technically a glaive, meaning you're going to be throwing this melee weapon and utilizing your heavy attack button. The explosion damage that you get from this weapon and the build up on screen is going to be incredibly good. This is my main weapon for taking down acolytes or just playing around with Kalervo. This weapon does a lot of slash damage, and combine that with viral, those enemies literally disappear in seconds, and if they don't, they're gonna disappear in just a few more seconds. Nonetheless, I think all of us know what the Glaive Prime is. If you don't, get this weapon. It is going to treat you very well. If you're having trouble with any kind of survival mission or anything, this weapon can get you out of that sticky situation. An incredibly good weapon and definitely a must-have. And now, moving on to the number 7 spot. In our number 7 spot, we have one of the newest weapons in the game, the Thales dual-handed scythe. Now, this weapon was a little bit bugged, and I do have a build video on it as well if you want to check it out in the little top eye right there. This weapon was bugged because of the damage and its incarnate form not working perfectly, but nowadays it's fixed to the best of my knowledge, and now it works really, really good, and in my testing as well. This weapon, alongside the evolutions and the build up on screen, is going to allow you to shred many, many different enemies. Now, the cool thing about this weapon is that you can actually ensnare enemies and make them more vulnerable to your damage, which is an incredibly good ability to have, sort of like a miniature CC. This weapon is definitely, I think, one of my top 3 incarnate weapons in the game, because I do have a soft spot for dual-handed scythes just because they look incredibly cool. But this weapon has the looks and also has the damage. And now, our number 6 weapon on the list. In our number 6 spot, we have, in my opinion, the best melee weapon in the game. And that is going to be the Nikana Prime. Now, what do I mean by melee? Basically, the glaive, you can throw it around, so I guess it's ranged in a sense, but the Nikana, you can't really throw any attacks. It is just basically up close and personal. First of all, the build up on screen and the stance. I love the stance. Blind Justice is one of the best stances in the game, and if you combine it with the best Nikana in the game, or I guess the best melee in my opinion in the game, you are going to be doing a lot of damage. The heavy attacks as well are incredibly good. First of all, I would recommend that everybody unlocks Tennokai and uses Dreamer's Wrath. It is going to be extremely beneficial because you can do free heavy attacks with increased critical damage. But other than that, this weapon shreds through enemies, shreds through acolytes. All you need to do is just do one heavy slash attack on an acolyte and they pretty much disappear like they were never there. One of the best crowd controlling enemies as well. You can kill a lot of enemies, a lot of trash units with this weapon, but I always utilize it and pull it out in those dangerous situations where I cannot use my primary or my Warframe abilities when facing an acolyte. So I would highly recommend you get this weapon. In our number 5 spot, we have the Praedos Incarnate. Now, this is a Tonfas weapon and of course an incarnate weapon, which means it has evolutions, and you can see them up on screen right now alongside the build. This weapon, compared to the Cronin Prime, which is also an incredibly good weapon, is just that tiny bit better. The stance itself is also incredibly good, allowing you to basically throw your Tonfas at enemies, increasing your range without actually increasing your range. The evolutions themselves could be a little bit better, but it is really good. The main thing that attracts me to this weapon compared to the Cronin is actually the damage and the speed of the attacks. Alongside the stats themselves, they are a little bit better, making this weapon more efficient at killing enemies if you really need to use your melee weapon or if you're running a melee build. And against acolytes, it's pretty much gonna do an incredibly good job. So just pull it out, slash that acolyte a couple of times, and he's pretty much gone. Now we're going to our number 4th spot. In our number 4th spot, we have the Okina Prime Incarnate. Honestly, I am in love with this weapon. I have utilized this weapon literally non-stop when it came out. The build, Incarnate, evolutions up on screen as always. It is incredibly good. The range of this weapon, the stats of this weapon, the sheer amount of damage of this weapon, and the incarnate form as well, giving you the ability to generate spectral daggers that apply cold, which is going to increase your critical damage to enemies, is going to be incredibly good. They travel around 15 meters and they apply 10 cold stacks immediately, so that is incredibly good. Combine that with the amount of damage that you do with this weapon, which is just incredibly good. You're not gonna have any trouble in Steel Path, Acolytes, or just base units alike. I'm in love with this weapon, an incredibly good one, a must-have in my opinion, alongside our number 3 spot. In our number 3 spot, we have the Dual Ichor Incarnate. The Dual Ichor Incarnate is so good. I love dual-handed sword weapons. I have no idea why, but I really do. The stance Swirling Tiger is incredibly good, alongside the build and the evolutions up on screen. The incredibly good thing about this weapon is, on its attacks, you generate clouds of toxin damage, which are going to do a lot of damage because they are based off of your melee mods. And the mods that you saw up on screen are going to help you out a lot. One of the favorite Warframes I like to pair this weapon is going to be Saren. Saren, with this weapon, she doesn't shred enemies. They literally disappear right in front of you and behind you as well. So this weapon is an incredibly good utility, status supplying, and also killing weapon as well. And now, moving on to the number second spot. In our number 2 spot, we have the Zorus. The Zorus is a free weapon that you get by completing the Granum Void quest, or might be wrong about the quest, but you do get it for free. Nonetheless, this is another glaive weapon, but in my opinion, this is one of the best free glaive weapons you can get. The damage of the weapon itself is incredibly good, the build up on screen, but I do prefer the glaive prime a little bit more just because of the slash damage that it does. Nonetheless, the Zorus is not bad in any sense. Combine it with melee influence and you're gonna be killing enemies around the corner, in front of the corner, and also in the next room as well. I really love this weapon. It's really good. The explosion damage itself is nice as well, and you can also always switch out the build and try it out for yourself. Maybe you can even do more damage than with the glaive. And now we're gonna be moving on to the honorable mentions. In our honorable mentions, we have a decent few weapons. We have the Hate Incarnate. The Hate Incarnate, an incredibly good weapon, really nice. The evolution's built up on screen as well if you want to check it out. I do have a full build video on it as well, and the only reason why it's not in the top 10 is because Harmony is here, and I do personally think it's just a little bit better. Now we have the Siam. The Siam is a Nikana weapon, and it is actually really good. Alongside its a special feature where you launch heat waves, sort of like Excalibur's exalted weapon, at enemies, and these can do millions and millions of damage. Keep in mind they also go through walls. Then we also have the Serrata. The Serrata is another glaive weapon, incredibly good. It is based on Toxin, so meaning you're going to be killing corpus enemies instantly, and this weapon is good against all enemies as well. Give yourself a little bit of corrosive, keep that toxin, and there you go. Of course, you do have the build up on screen as well. And now, the number 1 weapon. And in the number 1 spot, we have something that you guys had not been expecting, the Gram Prime. The Gram Prime is a really fun weapon. Does it have any unique traits? No, but it has one of the best and funniest stances in the game, where you swirl around after doing a couple of melee attacks in circles. You just swing your massive blade around, generating loads of combo and also doing a lot of damage. Combining the heavy attack of this weapon, especially on acolytes, is so good. You can literally one-slash acolytes like you can see in the background. I truly am in love with this weapon. It is really good against anything, clearing trash units, as you may have seen, killing acolytes as well. A really fun weapon, and it's not that hard to get. It's the Gram Prime. It's pretty plain and simple to get. You can see the build up on screen. It doesn't require a lot. A truly fun and actually good weapon. But I am interested in hearing your thoughts in the comment section down below. What shouldn't be on the list? I know you guys are gonna put it there, so I'm very interested. Also, comment down on the list what you think of it. Do leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. I do try to upload a lot, but life is very busy, so I'm sorry for that. I do truly love you and appreciate every single one of you guys. This has been your lovely host, the Gaming Weasel, over and out.